Welcome to the Stash Cast, where innovation meets real estate. Let's dive in.
All right, Doug, I'm super excited to have you here today. A little background. You were actually the first demo that I set up when I started running ads for Needle. You
Oh,
were not
great.
the first one scheduled, but you're the first one to show up. You're the second one scheduled, but I got on thinking, okay, I don't know what we're expecting, and a half-hour meeting turned into an hour and a half conversation. And I was just thrilled to make your acquaintance and said, this guy would make a great podcast guest.
No, you do a good job. You got a great vibe. I think we hit it off right away. You got a good product. Um, I'm not an easy guy to sell to. I'm picky.
Sure.
And no, that's good.
Yeah.
What? Just so everybody knows, if somebody wants to sell me something, just send me an Instagram ad. I'm going to buy it. I'm like a sucker. And
I
so,
too am a sucker for salespeople. I want to give them the sale, but I've had a couple where it's, dude, you're not selling me. Come on.
yeah, let's get it going. Yeah.
Exactly.
I was on a call yesterday, person, it was on another topic, and I was like, oh my gosh, you are good. She was right on it. She did 20% of the listing. She was really good. So I enjoy that too.
Good. So for the folks at home that haven't had a chance to make your acquaintance, why don't you tell me who you are and what you do?
Oh boy. That's okay.
Yeah.
Doug McNichol, broker owner of MRG Realty Partners, originally from Ohio, born in Alabama, Ohio, MBA, Chicago, sold a software company all the way out to Whitefish, Montana, built another company out there, all the while doing real estate. Back to Minnesota with my three daughters and wife. And now I'm an empty nester. Two of my daughters work with me. I travel all over doing deals, growing the brokerage, and I always tried to focus on being a good businessman. I didn't want to be a good deal person. I always thought if I'm a good businessman, the deal part would come naturally.
I only know you as the broker owner of MRG, but what was your early career and your journey? Because that's honestly, that's what I'm most interested in
Yeah,
having these conversations is hearing about other people's journeys.
I always start with where you're from. Tell me about yourself. Got out of graduate school. I was an investment banker for 2 years in Chicago on the business development side. Of course, there was an analyst side to that too. I was a little bit young, a little bit arrogant. I sold books with a company out of Nashville, Tennessee. It was a wild way to put yourself through college. For 4 years, I ended up meeting a girl there who I later married, 30 years, happily married. And so as an investment banker, I really feel like I focused on becoming the best businessman I could. I've had people pour into me with regards to just putting me under wing and let it get it going that way. And I was a voracious learner. I wanted to suck up everything anybody told me about their experiences. Left that investment banking job, started what I call a software company. So I feel like I grew up a software person, had a technical undergrad, and ended up taking the principles, literally top to bottom, the principles that I'd learned at the Southwestern company and applied them on a day-to-day basis at the software company. I knew I could close a deal. And so I figured if I close a deal, I'll figure out how to deliver it. And 5 or 6 years later, ended up selling that company to a group out of New York City. And during that time, developed some software, pricing strategies, sales management, great sales team there. I'm still friends with most of them. And then headed out to Whitefish. If anybody knows anything about Whitefish, people say, why'd you move? But I took an $800,000 business there and grew it to 35 or 40 million in 7 years. And I ended up selling that to my partners. And then to Minnesota, where I fully committed to brokerage. And so that's been what I've done for the last 12, 13 years.
That is fascinating. So let's start back with the books. Were you just slinging textbooks to people or what?
Oh boy, I went to Bowling Green and I grew up penniless, really, with regards to how to get through college. I had a chronic illness in the state of Ohio, supplemented my tuition a little bit, but I didn't have any way to pay for my school. A couple young people that had done it And basically on credit, you gave a company about $30,000 that you didn't have. You signed a credit statement as a sophomore. And you didn't really know what you're doing. And then they trained you over a 7-day period and you hit the road. And
7 days.
oh yeah, but it was drinking from a fire hose. Some of the most talented sales managers and what I call sales philosophers, they poured into you. Some of them are still in Nashville, Tennessee, doing a great job. I had a mentor who said one or two things to me. He's since passed away, that if you really listen and think about what some of these old timers said, could just make a huge difference. So yeah, it took those 7 days, hit the road. And the idea was to mark up your product 100% at cost.
Yeah.
You paid 30, you've got 60,000 in retail to go get.
Okay.
And the difference was your profit.
What kind of books were they?
You never heard of Southwestern? They were a small set of encyclopedias for school-age kids.
Okay.
It was basically, the core of the program was a 3 set of books. Handbook 1, Handbook 2, and Handbook 3. And so I put myself through MBA, undergrad and MBA school. And so I knew about deals. I was in over probably 3,000 closing situations by the time I was done with MBA school.
That's amazing. And that in and of itself is probably worth even better training than I haven't gotten an MBA, but I would imagine that hand-to-hand combat like that is incredibly valuable.
You see a lot of things that are accurate. Hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
You knocked on a door and you tried to get into their kitchen table. And it was mostly selling to moms.
Yeah.
And you pulled out a set of books and went through your spiel. And usually 5 minutes in, you could read the body language, the eyes, the engagement.
Sure.
You could read all that and said, okay, this is going down. She's getting her checkbook out. But you had moms that said, I want to buy these, but my husband won't let me. I'm like, don't tell them. Hi, right? You're in charge of education anyway. Let's go. And they would buy the books. And then you had moms that would say, I can't do this without my husband. So you learned to prioritize what we called suicide calls. 6 to 9:30 at night, you went back to what you thought were the highest probability deals. And you met the husband.
Yeah.
And he worked all day. And then he had to meet me. 3,000 closing situations. You get, and it's just repetition. It's drills, the hand-to-hand combat. So
I had a similar experience to that when I was first so my first sales job is I sold Cutco knives.
Oh.
And looking back, they'll hire anybody with a pulse, but they're like, yeah, we'll give you a job. I was so thrilled. It was the same thing. Like you started working your natural network and you show up at people's houses. The one that stands out most to me was I had set up a demo with a wife, and that's what they were called. The sales calls were called demos, and they give you a script and you just go through the script. If you memorize the script, same thing. You read the body language and you can figure out who's going to buy and who's not. And the husband was all in, and the wife showed up like at the tail end. And I remember she was upset with me because you set it up with me and then you sold him. I'm sorry, you weren't here. I don't know what you want me to do.
Cutco knives.
I still use them.
I think we have them. Yeah, I think we do. But I remember looking at this kid selling us knives going, who's the number one salesman? Give me some knives. I'm going to go get them. I've always had that. There were a couple guys back in the late 80s. I did this from 86 to 91. Just some incredible natural born deal talent. And I remember searching those students out, going, what are you doing? You're whipping my behind out here. And just a lot of tips, tricks, mostly when you look back on some of those experiences. I don't know if you feel the same, but you really just learn a mindset.
Yeah.
I learned the word professionalism really means. I was arrested selling books.
Really?
Oh yeah. I'm thrown in the back of a cruiser. I'm like, I'm trying to pay for college. I'll never forget it. I was working in a small town in Oklahoma, and I had a young guy with me. I'm not going to use his name, but he was a brown-skinned Indian gentleman, a young student,
Okay.
and they pulled a shotgun on us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they said, "We don't like your kind around here." I remember it, and I was like, "All right, we'll back away."
That's the right thing to
Yeah,
do.
we had an attitude like when there was a "Beware of the dog" sign.
Yeah.
This is a great lesson. That means the husband put it up because his wife buys everything.
Right.
It's a preemptive maneuver to say, "Don't knock on our door because we're going to buy it." So when we went into the yard with the "Beware of the dog" sign, we're like, "This deal's done."
Yeah.
So anyway, I took some of those lessons and put them into almost every business I've grown.
Yeah.
The Stash Cast is brought to you by Needle. What if you could use data and analytics to predict real estate transactions? With Needle, you can. Check it out at needle.us to learn more.
And I was investing in Chicago with a tremendous agent. I did 6 or 8 deals there, and I got licensed up in the late 90s in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
What sort of properties were you buying?
Investment property, small. I didn't have enough money to go big.
Yeah.
So we were talking about multi-doors.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And so the idea was to invest and then for that broker agent know that I'm not deep enough to hold forever. He'd get me out of the properties 12, 18 months later, make money, do it again.
That's a good relationship to have on
Well, I
both
learned
sides.
quickly. Yeah, I learned right away. This guy's really good. If I feel like I'm working with the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a tremendous agent. So that's what we did.
So what was the software company that you built and then sold?
After my investment banking, I was doing really well. I was looking back, I was arrogant, maybe a little too confident. And I remember doing a deal and I wanted a board seat. I was like, come on, I brought the deal to the table, did the deal, and there was a board established. And I was like, I need a board seat. And they know you're not good enough yet. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I did the deal or was part of the deal. And so I left. And I remember walking out telling my boss, I'm still in touch with that guy to this day. I'm into long-term relationships.
Yeah.
I actually am going to a party tonight.
That's cool.
Yeah. I just love long-term relationships. I always have and I always will. But I said, I'm going to hire you guys when I sell my business. And I walked out the door. I read an article in Byte magazine for those technical engineering types out there that said the document management system approach to mission critical problems is going to be an explosive business. And I said, maybe I can do that. And so we basically took image files, associated them with a flat file database. Now, the relational database at the time was starting to come around. So you had to go one-to-one on your tag. We would suck that image in, and then we wrote industrial software to connect the two. So it wasn't flashy. We monetized, and then we kept morphing and expanding our service base. There was one particular event with that company that had another mentor out of Chicago. And he said, why don't you fly out to San Francisco where your lead software developer and company is? And I said, I've never been. He goes, get on a plane. And he literally told me on the plane, don't sleep or do anything. Think about your meeting. And so I went out there. I had a nice logo for our company. And I met with this guy. His name was, I can probably use his name, but I'll just use John. He was a high profile guy in San Francisco. And I said, John, why don't you take my logo and every time they install your software, can I have my logo next to yours and my phone number? And he said, are you absolutely crazy? And I said, just seems to make sense. You need me and I need you. And he eventually said, yes. So every time he deployed his software, my logo was there. He gave that user an opportunity to call my company.
Yeah.
Hey, we just installed this software. We need you.
That's great.
And I was like, hello. It exploded.
That's phenomenal.
It was really cool. He was an older guy, didn't have to do it.
Did you work on like a reseller relationship then?
Oh, yeah. We turned into a VAR. He started a VAR program. He had a direct sales team. I said, let me go sell it.
Sure.
We just opened an office there, Third and Market. And we had a Dallas and a DC office. Dominated. We sold more software than his own group.
That's
And
amazing.
so, and when he said something, I was like, okay, yes, sir.
Right.
On his,
It's like the login, the
yeah, it's
first
like,
thing that you
boom.
see.
Oh, you just bought our software.
Yeah.
And so it was really neat.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, but hadn't Irwin was his name in Chicago told me to think. He said, on the plane ride out there, think. That's what he told me. And I
Yeah.
go, okay, think about what? So I formulated a thought process to try to make it productive.
That's fantastic.
More lucky.
Better be lucky than good, but
Yeah, I guess.
also the harder you work, the luckier you get. So I've
Yeah.
always found that to be true. And then, so you sold that and you went to Whitefish, Montana, which I've never been, but I've heard great things. So what did you do out there? Actually, hold on. Who was your target market or your ICP that you were selling to when you were selling software?
Yeah. So we had Fortune 500 corporations, which was semi-ridiculous at the time. It intimidated me walking into Baxter or Dow Corning or Archer Daniels Midland. What am I doing here? And somebody would walk out and,
All buttoned up.
hey, here's what I'm doing. I think you're going to do this today. And they're like, really? I go, yeah. And then their law firms were a part of our client base.
So that was your initial ICP. Did you find one that was that?
We eventually became extremely close with plaintiff attorneys around the country. And then we had 300 or 325 of the Fortune 500 companies as clients.
Wow.
And yeah, and then a tougher stat, I think even a better stat, is we had probably 400 of the top 500 law firms in the country as clients because they all ran in the same circles. And so that's what we did. I was piecemealing together a P&L on Saturday mornings, pulling out my MBA accounting book.
Yeah.
And I can remember, I think in the third month, fourth month, I made $10,000 in profit. And I remember looking at the P&L and going, wait a minute, 10 times 10 is 100. So I'm 10% of my goal of basically $1.2 million net a year. That's how my mind worked.
Yeah.
Grow smart, grow your business smart.
Yeah.
And then we discovered a vein, and I brought on a minority partner pretty early in the process, still one of my good friends.
You've had a couple of sales careers so far that we've just talked about. What are some of the through lines that you've seen in the most successful salespeople as you've done it yourself and then as you've built and grown talent? When hiring, what do you look for in hiring? And then once they are on, what do they do to succeed or exceed?
Yeah, wow, that's a big question. If somebody has a fire in their belly, I want them. I hired one guy a long time ago. He's one of my first agents at MRG. And he was literally rejected by all the big nationals.
Buttoned up.
I'll be here at the office at 7:30, buying
Classic
coffee.
kind of snobby
he wasn't
commercial
that
real
guy.
estate thing.
In the old days, you had to wash the cars of
Oh my God.
the lead broker who really doesn't know anything, right? I said, let's get in my truck and do a ride along. So we ran around. I said, we did this deal. We lost that deal. We got to know each other. And then literally, I'm telling you, he got out of my truck and said, if you don't hire me, it's going to be the biggest mistake of your life. I rolled the window down and I said, dude, you are hired. You are so hired. It's not even funny. He didn't have a license yet. He didn't know anything about water, sewer, gas, trash, electric, snow, lawn, repairs, pro forma revenue, blah, blah, blah.
You don't need to know any of that.
I said, I'll get all that to you.
Yeah.
And to this day, he's still a phenomenal agent on
I'm
deals.
trying to recruit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is that how we're going to do this? So anyway, I think number one, the fire in the belly. They've got to have some level of intellect, smart. You've got to get it eventually. Good teammate is a must. The days of, I can't share my client with you because if I leave early, you're going to try to steal them. We don't do any of that stuff. That doesn't exist at MRG. We have a different team model. that really nobody's executing. There is one group out of Texas that I really admire. They're executing on the same thing, but I truly believe it's the future of brokerage, the way we divide up teams. So those are a couple things, I guess. Fire in the belly, intellect, a great team player. Those big things.
The first thing you mentioned, and I agree, it's really an intangible. And that's something that I think the current MO of using AI to grade applications and all that, like you really miss it because that's not something that you can see or gauge on paper. It's really, you have to meet them in person and get a feel. Real estate, commercial real estate is a contact sport, right? You got to go out there, see the property, see the people.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, you're not going to succeed, unfortunately. I'll share. I've got a similar story. I hired Sharif, he was my business partner for 10 years. And I met him at a brunch, and he had been managing his father-in-law's McDonald's franchises with the hope of getting into ownership. And he'd been doing it for 5 years and just making 30 grand a year, working as though he was the owner, right? And he just talked my face off for 3 hours. And I was like, by the end, I was like, you would make a good broker. And eventually he came over, and same thing. He's been very productive. There are some things that need revision, like communication and things like that, but he likes to just bring it in and be like, here, surprise. And I fucking hate surprises. Just tell me what you're doing.
Yeah. No,
But
you and I see the world that way. I don't like surprises either. It's got to understand, like we treat our agents as true entrepreneurs, right?
yeah,
They don't have the money to go buy inventory, but no matter where you're sitting, if you drive 30 minutes in either direction, you just drove by $1 billion in inventory.
yeah,
Providing a true entrepreneur a very feature-rich brokerage environment is what we do. Now, obviously, technical knowledge, deal training, support is a huge one, but, and then, how to be clever and know your competition. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's part of the business. We don't lose very often on the deals we go after, but, how to take that loss and reflect and get better. Right. So I consider that a feature of our brokerage too. So I would add somebody who knows how to take advantage of features that are available to them.
yeah.
And
Let me go do that.
Yeah, we have the best management tool in the entire world available to us on a day-to-day basis. It's free. This is free. You did it today. I did it today. No matter if you're standing getting a coffee this morning, whoever you're standing next to, they did it today. And it's called the mirror.
Yeah.
If something's going well, say, hey, whatever your name is, Doug, man, this is going well. Maybe I need to do more of that. Is there a way, even though I'm really good in this area, is there a way for me to improve even yet? Okay. Now, this isn't going well. I'm blessed with this natural ability, whatever that may be. Can I put bricks in my wall on that topic, on that subject, on that skill set to improve? The mentor-mentee relationship is truly a twofold thing. If the reader of the book is not open, that's not a good mentee.
Right.
So through my sales management and the second business I grew, we grew at about 8,400% on a 4-year basis. The software company was about 1,600% a year, and MRG is running at about 1,200% a year, consistent. Good enough for right now. If I don't make those changes, you're your own best mentee or mentor.
Yeah.
But it takes self-reflection.
Yeah.
And so we're big on self-improvement, right? We get all that.
But if you work on yourself,
yeah,
spill over into the other aspects of your life.
Well, we train good business people, deal train. If you're talking to an owner, say they own 10, 15 buildings, They're probably a pretty good business person. Maybe they got a big W-2 job. On top of that, they're good managers. They know how to time it. They're good business people. The better business person you are, the better you're going to do with them.
Yeah.
You can read some sales training book or something, but you can't say, does Thursday at 10:30 in the morning or does Thursday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon work better? No, those days are over.
Yeah. I found that myself. I waited too long, I think, to get into the principal side, but for various reasons. But I found I took a shell of a building, 1880s
Yeah.
construction, and turned it into 6 beautiful brand new apartments. In doing that, it gave me a much better understanding and appreciation for what my clients are doing. And it gave
Yeah.
me just naturally better questions to ask, like, where do you get your cabinets from? Or picking up on things during property
Yeah.
tours. Like, I remember I was touring this deal with a group and they're like, yeah, I would paint this flat on the inside. And I was like, why? That doesn't make any sense. And they're like, because it's easier to paint
Clean.
over and then you
Yeah.
don't have the, I guess, holidays or what have you. Like the
Yeah.
flat paint is better for turns. So all my units
Yeah.
are flat on the inside.
It's interesting. Minnesota locks freeze. Go through.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right on the money there. That takes a little time, a little experience. What I call eating what you're cooking. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do it, but you should make every single agent in the country go buy a building. They'd be all of a sudden, oh, okay.
It should,
Management's important.
or at least I remember I was at a brokerage earlier in my career, and this guy came on and he had spent a couple of years in management. And I was like, I didn't understand at the time, but he excelled incredibly. And only in retrospect was I able to realize that, oh, he was able to excel because he literally speaks the language of the people that he's dealing with. And he's got warm connections and all that. But he was able to effectively communicate with these folks. And that is incredibly powerful. My hat's off to him for sure.
Yeah, I can go down all kinds of examples on that. But you're right.
Yeah.
In a great town.
Yeah. So you went to Whitefish.
Yeah.
What did you build there?
Do you want the real story or the made up one? Anybody who knows me knows I'm going to tell it like how I see it.
Sure.
We'd had a couple kids, twins first, had a third daughter out there. I had just sold my software company. I had quite a bit of money in the bank for a young farm boy in Ohio, who, by the way, didn't know how to manage it at all.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I'm going to stay home and help my wife raise these kids. And about 4 weeks into it, my wife turned to me and said, would you get the heck out of here? You are worse than any help I could imagine. Right? She goes, go out and do your thing. And I'm like, okay. So I provided a $50,000 convertible note. In the real estate world, they call it a warrant now or soft debt. It's a mezz debt feature with control, right? There are tons of legal names for it, but I call it a convertible loan. And the day I wrote that check, I knew I was going to own this restaurant.
Wow.
And so I went back and I said, Megan, we bought a restaurant. And she's, what? She goes, I told you to get out there, not buy a restaurant. But meanwhile, I was still doing real estate deals.
Yeah.
I did 180 million in residential. And I'm still part of that office out there. It's a long story, but my 2 partners out there are still great friends of mine. They're talented agents, no doubt. And so I took that restaurant. It had IRS liens on it. I assumed the position from the owner. So I had control of the real estate. I paid bills. I got rid of at least 90% of the existing staff. They were all stealing.
Yeah.
In restaurant turnaround.
And the culture had become toxic.
Oh, yeah. But I met a young kid there who I don't talk to him much anymore. I wish I did, but successful guy. I gave him control of some things, and essentially 27 or 28 restaurants later, our run rate was about 48 million. And we were dropping $4 million in EBITDA annual. Our balance sheet was strong. And meanwhile, I was selling real estate and investing in real estate.
Wow.
So I was doing both at the same time.
Sounds
Close.
like it.
Yeah. As in like Amsterdam.
No, so I was a psychology major,
Oh,
and I remember my, I think I took a sports psychology course, and I really liked the professor, but he talked about almost like runner's high, but for
yeah.
business is what you were in. You were just in the groove and just
Yeah.
succeeding.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And eventually things came to a loggerhead where I said, I got to do real estate. And so I vacated my shares, sold them to another real estate client that I had that I worked with to some degree for him. He was a national player, big name. He owns professional sports teams now. And to some degree, he was another mentor of mine. I've just been lucky throughout my career that people just put their arms around me and said, okay, what are you doing? Let's get you corrected here a little bit. And I was all ears.
Yeah.
And so I've been lucky that way. Sold that and then relocated to Minnesota for school and family.
Okay. So is your wife's family from
We had
Minnesota?
a lot of family there. And then we actually knew, thanks to my wife's vision, that her her mother was going to need some care and she was getting older. And we figured South Bend, Indiana to Minnesota, we could maybe do something. And we eventually ended up bringing her mother-in-law close to us, which was great. And then my 3 kids, the education was great. The scene in Minnesota was fantastic. Still is for the most part, depending on where you live. We make a lot of national news up here with regards to some of our wacky ideas, which aren't mine, by the way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, then it was Minnesota, and I dove hard into real estate.
So you took all the lessons that you had learned from all your previous experiences and said, you know what, let's go build a brokerage. Is that what you set out to do? Or is
Not
that
right
what
away.
happened?
No, I was at the hockey games. I was at gymnastics meets. I was at parent teacher conferences, which I learned most dads shouldn't even go to because they don't know what's going on. I was doing all those things. I didn't miss anything as a parent. And then when the kids got a little older, I got a little bit more serious about my own brokerage. And honestly, I don't know if your audience, I'm a sports nut. There is a phenomenal I literally watched this documentary, and it was about Jerry Jones, the Arkansas championship team, and how I can't remember if they won the national championship or were runners up, but the title of the documentary is Fourth Quarter, and how their mantra was, we're better in the fourth quarter, we're stronger in the fourth quarter. And now it's reflective on all of those very successful guys from that football team and that they're in their fourth quarter of their careers.
Wow.
Remember, yeah, I watched it a couple times. I remember going, oh my God, I'm in the fourth quarter of my career. I was like, let's do this. And so it wasn't long ago I started MRG. And yeah, here we are, 45, 50 agents. We're going to get it there. We're doing some things extremely different.
So let's talk about that because you mentioned that on our first call, and I was like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. And that was one of the reasons I wanted you on. I've spent my whole career essentially as a commercial real estate broker with independents, with franchises, regional mothership controlled firms, and then with a large national. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts and take on the brokerage practice.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. You've got a lot of good real estate minds in the audience, and there are great brokers and agents out there. I think there are different models. I feel like our model is cutting edge. It starts with the balance sheet. You got to look at it, you got to study it. So the brokerage business, we really don't have employees. We have independent contractors.
Right.
We don't have contracts that essentially are sellable. They can come and go quickly. So how do you build the asset side of your balance sheet? It takes some thought.
Right.
And we're doing that. So I set out to build a brokerage that if we did no deals a year, if I had 10 agents or if I have 1,000, we're going to break even.
Okay.
No deals. January 1st, 2nd, if I do no deals, I'm going to break even. So the remaining component of that is that contribution margin when a deal does occur. really to me is like a 10x, because you have to then go to the liability side of the balance sheet and say, I have liabilities, right? Office leases, payroll, long-term commitments on software, annual subscriptions coming out the wazoo. Those are short-term liabilities, but they're liabilities nonetheless. I don't have those. I have no liabilities on my balance sheet.
Interesting.
If I put a car somewhere, you can consider that a liability, but I'm going to have a car regardless.
Yeah.
That's what I call the balance sheet approach to building a brokerage. It's just building a smart balance sheet.
So how do you do that?
But
Yeah.
But I'm curious, once every quarter, I'll go look at the balance sheets of the big boys, the publicly traded groups, right? And I'll go look at their liabilities, and they might have a market cap of $1 billion or 35 billion. But to me, the liabilities can choke a horse.
Sure.
And deals are a little harder to come by since Trump got in office. Regardless of how you think, no one knows what's going on.
Right.
So we're starting to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We've had some rate drops depending on the latter part of that curve, but I don't have to worry about that too much, because if we do a deal, the contribution margin to the brokerage of that deal is 100%. That contribution margin I get doesn't have a lot of cash outflow associated with it.
You're not reliant solely upon the deal flow.
We are, but I'm just saying, when we get a deal, so for instance, I've got some great relationships with some great brokers, and we get together once in a while or we'll call. I was in an office 4 or 5 years ago, beautiful office with a broker I know. And we went to the conference room and we started chatting, just catching up. And halfway through, he's like, hey, do you want to get out of here? I'm like, yeah, let's go. He goes, I don't like sitting in the office. So we drove to, I think, a Starbucks or something. Here's this good agent, broker, who didn't like sitting in the office.
Right.
Well, if you could pull something from that person that they don't like to do, that's a nice feature for that person. We don't have long-term office leases. Clients don't come anyway.
No.
Back to your original point, you ought to be in properties.
Yeah.
Coffee shops, again, that liability side is non-existent.
Okay.
I'm a lead. The other thing is, you're seeing people laid off. I talked to a great guy. I can't believe why or how this brokerage laid the guy off, but he got laid off. Their liabilities are calling. They're downsizing leases. If somebody steals a good multifamily team, they put in their contract, you have to be in the office from 8 to 5 every day.
Right.
And we'll let you out by noon on Friday. Get up, work in your jammies for all I care. Do deals. Have fun. Let's go.
Yeah, that's an after effect of COVID. And then as soon as the pandemic set in, we had a Teams meeting every morning just as a way to stay connected.
We do that same thing. We're on Zooms every week, and we have an internal management team that's still growing, but I've got a couple very talented. I'd still put them up against most brokers. And so we have that private meeting to talk about the overall direction of the brokerage. And if somebody's on the beach doing it, they're doing deals, what do I care?
Yeah, what does it matter? Yes, that's true. But how do, so let's talk about new to business brokers. I was one myself at a time. And what I've seen in trying to onboard and bring on new agents is that they're like, yeah, I'll make 100 calls a day. I'll do whatever it takes. And it's like, all right, come on. A lot of that learning does happen on the job, listening to the phone calls of the more seasoned senior agents in the office. And so I would imagine from what you're explaining that you don't have, maybe your team doesn't have the opportunity to mentor directly like that. No?
First of all, I don't agree with listening to somebody with bad habits who's not doing that many deals make calls. That's my opinion. It could be wrong. But the way we have 5 to pretty much 5 or 6 mentor programs, they're
Okay.
smooth, they're good. A lot of them are delivered online. We are the most engaged brokerage. I'm absolutely convinced across multiple states. We have what we call an alliance team model, which forces communication. There's 2 types of communication. There's formal and there's informal. We are an informally communicating brokerage. That means I can text you and say, hey, Stash, I woke up this morning thinking about this deal. Let's connect before 10 a.m. Let's call that buyer. I think they're close. We ought to take this approach. And you're like, yeah, can't wait to hear it. Okay. That's informal communication. Now, we can wait till the Tuesday or the Monday meeting to talk about that, but we've already lost. Okay. That's just my opinion. Speed wins.
Yeah.
I've had brand new agents without licenses who are still with me come on and make 140,000 year one growth. Multiple. Not one, not a lucky guy, multiple. I am not one that believes the senior director tells the so-and-so, tells the so-and-so, tells the so-and-so that you need 12 to 18 months of savings to get into that business. That's hogwash. That's my mind, and we're proving it different. We'll take new agents and get them up to speed and get them up to speed fast. We have what we call a double program. We have a video series called Listing Domination. The first 6 or 8 videos are about mindset when it comes to listing a property. The remaining 16 or 17 videos are about detailed tips, tricks, techniques, experiences, impact words will cause you to win that listing regardless of the competition. I've had agents come on board and get a listing within as soon as 7 days, multiple times. And depending on the quality of the asset, if they put that in front of the power of the brokerage, they've closed deals as soon as 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks into the business and some really amazing checks.
That's phenomenal.
And they're off and running.
Yeah.
Now, I've had people in 6 months get through the 5 hurdle program. I've got agents doing it right now. At the end of 6 months, you've got to sit down with them and pick what kind of program fits them, right? So what'll happen in a lot of brokerages, they'll get 20 people in the room, everybody's taking notes. There's 4 different learning styles. Assuming all those people you're training are equally spread statistically over that learning style, you're missing 75% of them. They're not absorbing anything. So we custom tailored our programs to where people go, hey, I need to do it to see it. I need to do it to understand it. So that's what we call the OIC program. And it's a joke, but we like to say that program is, oh, I see how you do this.
Right.
We call it the OIC program.
Yeah.
This person needs to get their hands dirty. And right. And we have others that can read and take a test or watch videos over and over. And so we have 5 different programs to get people into to cause their success.
That's amazing.
We've worked hard on it.
Yeah.
I'm tickled pink with it. And then we've actually taken agents who have truly failed at other brokerages. And they come, they'll sit with me or one of my directors and they'll go, I want to do this, but I failed. I'm failing. And when you peel that onion back, a lot of the time they have a different learning style, right? Nothing against The Elephant Man, by the way. It was a great movie. It's a better book. They have all the check boxes to go be successful, but they're not fitting in that prescribed box.
Okay. So how do you determine who goes into what program?
Let it pick.
Okay.
Yeah, we described the programs. They all have to go through the 5 hurdles.
What are the 5 hurdles?
I can't tell you. No, it's the 5 hurdles. Hurdle 1 is a tough hurdle. Hurdle 2 and 3 are worked on simultaneously while you button up hurdle 1. Hurdle 4 builds on 3 and 4. And hurdle 5, they basically call you and go, I get this. I totally get it. Now, some people can move through it in 3 or 4 months, some 6. Some people might take a year, but they're making money along the way with the alliance team model. Some are eating hamburger, some are eating filet, but everybody's eating.
Yeah.
And so when that new agent comes back home, or mom, dad, girlfriend, wife, maybe it's a $6,000 check. They go, I can do this.
Yeah,
And the
you-
wife is, or the
Yeah.
loved one, and then that confidence grows and they get through the hurdles and they go, no, I'm a double person. Let's go.
That's cool. Do you pool commissions and then everybody gets a cut based on their production, or how does that work?
That's a good question. You're getting into something now that I consider nobody else is doing. There's one other group doing this, and I've actually talked to the broker. He's actually turned into just a really good guy for me, and I feel like him for me. Do we pool commissions? Okay. I run a 3-person team in a couple different states, which, by the way, no other brokerage can you do that with. A team out of Nashville, Tampa, and Minnesota.
Okay.
Each person on the team has a different skill set. Some's really good at numbers and can act as the analyst on the deal, no problem. The other person's just so darn likable, the buyers and sellers maybe want to work with them. And you might have the heavy on the team that has to have the tough conversation. Hey, Mr. Seller, your property isn't worth $1.5 trillion. Unless you can show me 1,000 oil wells or a diamond mine, maybe here's where the market is telling you your value of your property is. Somebody needs to play that role on the team.
Yeah.
And the same with the buyers. So we brought in a commission. It was about 2.25 a few months ago. And I let one of the teammates split it up. His name's Jake. He's on board with me. I said, Jake, split up the money. And we call it chopping it up. And so there was not a predefined how much I get, how much this person gets, how much this person gets. But we don't do it like that. If I played a huge role, I maybe get a little bit more. If Mary Pat, for instance, played a bigger role, she gets more. And it's fair. And everybody looks at it and goes, yeah, that's really fair. And so that spreadsheet goes off to a director of finance technology down in Tampa. And the commission sheets are developed and everybody's in agreement. So I'm not even splitting up the commissions necessarily at the team.
No, because if you have a deal team and everybody had some role on it, then you have an established deal team and then each person gets a share of the fee. Commission splitting is it's a tough thing to think about. And how do you do it?
It's not for us.
Yeah.
It is you handle that in the hiring process. So what we'll do is we'll talk about a percentage of the deal. So it doesn't matter if it's 100 grand or 20 grand or 225 grand or 900,000. I think I did about 18 to 20% of that deal. Okay, great.
It was dead.
It was done.
Yeah.
Everybody was in agreement. And one of our team members happened to be Mary Pat. I was with her and she goes, I got a feeling about this. The deal was inked by 5:00.
Wow.
So the team members will say, yeah, that we were getting 0%.
Right.
We were. And now how much Mary Pat's going to chop up for herself on that, or Jake or Dave or Drew or any of the agents, Richard, it's a really fair process. It's totally different. It's what the young people want. They do not want to be tied to the office, answering to some big boss who, by the way, they might think they're better than, which is difficult. And some of these young agents are killers. They are.
Yeah.
I can give you an examples of why I think so if you want. But they want to work in a team environment. They're phenomenal at working in a team. and they're very unselfish. I got a director out of Nashville that he writes the book on thinking about others, and it's coming back to him in spades. You're skeptical. I can see you're like not believing it.
No, it's not that I am not believing it. That is not the case at all. I'm just reflecting on my experience and thinking about how we have done it and trying to relate it to what you've just shared with me.
Because I was with a great broker probably 3-4 months ago, and I was like, what's your split? And he told me, and I about vomited. These guys are on 50-50, 60-40 splits. It all goes to New York City.
With the house.
I'm at the 95th, 98th percentile in splits because everything I'm paying or getting in is 100% contribution margin right to the bottom line. When you
But
give
how do you handle
somebody an
support
aggressive,
staff? How do you handle support staff?
yeah, see, now we're getting into what I think is that we'll use the really kosher term these days, this disruptive mindset on the balance sheet. Everybody at my brokerage has a license.
Okay.
Everybody's got a license. Everybody will participate in a deal.
Okay.
They got to eat what the market's cooking too. So when my director out of Iowa says, congratulations, I know what you went through on that deal in Tampa, they mean it. If my director of technology services said, congratulations, I know that was a tough one, it means more. Everybody's eating.
Yeah.
And we hire across different skill sets. So one of my best deal guys, I would put him up against any analyst around. Right. And I've got really good agents who are probably light on the analyst work, meaning they don't have the personality type to sit there and make love to the Excel keyboard all day. Right. It's not their strength. Yeah. I don't want them doing it. If you're playing deep safety and you're big enough, you might have to fill in as a linebacker. That's just the way it works. And
do you have kind of rules of thumb or established rules of the road, or each one is just freelance?
The alliance team model, one of the best brokers I've ever dealt with out of Chicago, he actually sold my last property, my last home in Chicago, and I handed him a check for $60,000 in commission or something ridiculous. And he laughed. He took the check and he was, I told you to get your license. Right. And I was like, okay, that was a big light bulb. But be that as it may, it's the alliance team model. Every client, every listing gets a custom strategy. Owners are all different. If we walk up to a 12 unit or a 24 or a 340 unit property, those are different flavors. One's chocolate, one's vanilla, one's pistachio, one's salted caramel. They all need treated differently.
Sure.
We're not going to do that. It's impossible. So custom client strategies per deal, per client. Takes extra work, but the clients who understand it never go anyplace else. 80% of our business is repeat business. So we do have rules to the road. And so if somebody gets a listing, they'll call me occasionally and go, hey, Doug, I really think this is a 2 or 3 person team deal. And I'll say, okay, who are you thinking about? They'll say so-and-so in Tampa, but I really want an analyst role out of Nashville. I want to work with this person. So that person's on the team for that deal.
Do you have cliques that then develop or established teams that start to develop? No.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
So the way
if I see that developing, people, you have to, one of the biggest, I already covered like training salespeople firstly as good business people. They're hungry for that. It's not just a closing line. I've got 50 closes. Good business people care about others. Good business people care about their employees, their staff, their clients, their vendors. And hiring the people that naturally care about others first is a big in our hiring process. We'll interview 15 people and maybe offer to 2.
I see.
And everybody at MRG makes money because they check those boxes. And if somebody's not doing as well as they want, it's a complete all hands on deck. One of the reasons I started MRG, they hire somebody and they go, okay, good luck. And everybody's bear hugging them with knives in their hands. Stay away from my
Yeah.
clients. To that guy for 4 years, but never got results. You talk to him for 2 weeks and all of a sudden you got a listing. That's not fair. What? What do you mean? I was more effective in 3 weeks than you were in 4 years. I think it's more than fair, right? All those clicks, those infighting things that happen under that circumstance does not exist at MRG Realty Partners. And I believe it's the future. There's so much hate in the world right now. You know it. I know it. Government's fighting. No one wants to listen to each other. People need a place to dedicate their career where you can call any one of my agents. If you got a flat tire at 1 o'clock in the morning, you can call any agent and they'll come help. You might owe them a case of beer or something,
Sure.
but that's the kind of culture that when I look back on some of the successful businesses I've grown, we had. And I'm just sticking with it.
How do you preserve that as you continue to grow? Because the larger an organization gets, the more that culture that you've just described tends to become diluted.
I already told you, just splits.
Uh-huh.
People are going to fight harder for their nickels and dimes when they're on a 60-40 or 50-50 split. It's natural. I would too. But when
Yeah.
you're on incredibly generous splits in a feature-rich environment where people care about each other, if an agent of mine cares about 5 or 6 extra grand on a team, they just don't do it. They'll say, no, give it to that person. I want to be on their good side because they're an incredibly important teammate. Doesn't happen. It does. And I've had people leave who I thought were going to understand that environment, but when they're talking about, no, that extra $200 should be mine, they're not right for us. Everybody's
Yeah.
going to make money in that brokerage platform where there's love, caring, mutual interest in everybody's success, leadership opportunities, and it's the splits. If I was on a 50-50 split, I'd get a $30,000 commission, you get 15, and then when you add in your gas, your headache, your Starbucks coffee with the client, your bag of pens, the new shoulder bag you want to buy because you look cool rolling up to a building. When you add all that up, your money's gone. And they're going to fight for it.
Yeah.
And you're sending it all to New York. It makes 0 sense.
I'm curious to learn more. I'm comparing it with the situations I've been in.
Yeah.
The name of the company
You should consider having one of my young agents on, and they can explain to you how that alliance team model works. You can hear it right from them. It's interesting. There's some real talent out there.
So the name of the company is MRG Realty Partners. How does that ownership structure work? Yeah.
Great question. We're very soon, I don't know if it's 6 months or a year or 2, we're going to start rolling out in I think a very technical type of way. Even to some degree, we're looking at tokenization and things like that, where we can have partners. I didn't name it McNichol Realty Group.
Yeah.
All the good brokerages around, it's got the last name of the founder. It's like a law firm. Yeah, I specifically called it MRG Realty Partners for a reason. So you're right on the money there.
And then how are you going to divvy up or allocate partnership shares?
Now you're sounding like a securities lawyer.
No, I'm asking again, reflecting on
Are
situations.
you asking if they're going to have to buy in? Or are you asking if I'm going to open it up to what is totally available now, which is a tokenization process where anybody can buy shares?
I don't know what I'm asking. I'm trying to get a better understanding of that because tokenization, you've had a bunch of groups go out and try and tokenize real estate, and I don't think anybody has done it effectively.
No, they
I
haven't.
yeah.
It's too early.
Yeah, and I don't know. The counter is, oh,
Yeah.
blockchain will solve all the issues. That's
Well,
one
what you're
thought.
really so that person can have a return and an interest in the business.
No,
Brokerage
it's
group,
not.
it can be done a number of ways. It can be in allocated shares. It can be options. If they work harder, it's a basic strike price on the option. We can do the math and say, hey, the strike price is $600 a share. You have 12, 24, 36, 48, 60 months to exercise those options. And by, again, going back to the balance sheet with the retained earnings,
Yeah.
and you exercise your strike at 6, you just walked into $400 per share.
Okay.
The question is, can somebody else buy those options? Someone who's not related.
I guess if you're publicly traded, then they
Well,
could.
yeah, if you're publicly traded, but we're forever and a day away from there, even if we wanted to do it. There's a lot of reasons it doesn't make sense in the commercial real estate. There are publicly traded groups that are losing money per share right now.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
looked at the balance sheets.
Rhyme
Well,
with.
huh?
What do they rhyme with?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
It was founded way back by a couple of Coldwell Banker agents.
Yeah. Do you know how Coldwell Banker got started?
Yeah.
They're selling real estate in San Francisco, wasn't it during the gold rush period?
There's a long story to that, and I don't remember it right now. It was like George Coldwell and Robert Banker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think where you begin like really matters, right? If I'm a new agent, I am asking, are you profitable, Mr. Broker? Like none of the agents ask that. They're scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you profitable? And if so, why? What is your operating history? You have to be able to possess something in order to give it away, is my theory. You have to be able to have knowledge, tools, tips, tricks, techniques. If I have a loaf of bread, I can give it to you. If I want to give you a loaf of bread, but I don't have it, I can't do it. And so the whole sales management philosophy really starts from that, right? That's not coaching or sales management. That's just like asking somebody to put rivets in the car door. And we would just take a different approach. I think our approach makes sense for my background, our personality style as a group. It might not be for everybody, but I truly think it's the future, especially with these young people. I've got an incredible story on when the light bulb went on for me with regards to I'm bullish on young people. I am
Yeah.
so bullish. I had a client call and say, Doug, I need all comparable rents in the University of Minnesota Dinkytown area. And I'm like, oh God, this guy was a big owner. I'm like, you know what you're renting your units for. Why do you need that from me? Some third-party bank appraiser or something. Couldn't use his own comps. Sorry about that. And so I had two young people who checked in with me late. And I said, I just got the worst assignment. They both had 2,000 or 3,000 followers, right? They put it on their phone. They got leases back instantly. Leases.
Yeah.
One of the people put it in a spreadsheet. I got up the next morning stressed out, and one of them said to me, it's done.
I got
Check your
it.
email. And I went, you're kidding. So I looked at it, it was perfect. I forwarded it on. I gave them the credit. But young people have the ability to do things differently these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really bullish on those young people who have a fire in their belly. And that's where we're going with MRG. I'll take an agent who has zero experience. I'll take a residential agent. They're good.
They're resourceful. They're technologically literate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's one particular group I follow. I'm not going to use the state. It's a big national. They're good. I respect them. They dominate in their particular market area. And then when you look at their material, They all look like the high school quarterback. It's the same jacket, the same tie, the same look. They're all good looking. You can't break into that good old boys club at that multifamily team to save yourself. They wouldn't even hire Tom Brady or Baker Mayfield. They
Right.
wouldn't. We'll take the theater major who has a fire in his belly, or the person who got cut from the baseball team. They've got a fire in their belly. They're talented, they're smart, they're good. And I just think it's a different approach to brokerage that has been in the past. And again, I think this group is great. For those of the people that know me who might listen to this podcast, I probably said it to them. They'll know who I'm talking about. But it's just different what we're trying to get done.
It's innovative, and commercial real estate has been, for what I've found, is that commercial real estate is a closed network. A lot of it, and as technology is advancing, it's opening it up more and more. But for so long, it was in deal making, essentially, how can I get one over on the guy that I'm buying it from? Or how can I get one over on the guy I'm selling it to?
Yeah.
And just about hidden knowledge, secrets, things like that. And I never subscribed to that.
Oh, it's
That was my experience with it,
the information
especially early.
flow. The information available is crazy. We use an app that has nothing to do with real estate and zero. And it is, if somebody said, Doug, you have to give up all your apps, all your software, what's one app or piece of software you would keep, it would be that one. And it's so cheap, it's almost free. So the information flow has really leveled the playing field. That kind of ended in 2018. The affordability of the technology like Needle, it's a great application. It's leveled the playing field.
Yeah, and
You
I
know,
think technology will continue to shine light on the market that is commercial real estate.
yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting. I think in general, the old stodgy people like me are traditionally late adopters or don't want to commit the time and energy to learn. I'm trying to take some pride in being different.
Yeah,
I'm still writing applications that I'm not even rolling out yet because I'm not convinced they're good enough. We've rolled out a couple. I sold one, but yeah, the technology, it's not just a brokerage saying I'm a technology firm too. I can put anything next to MRG Realty Partners.
right.
We're great chefs. Is
World's
leaning
best
toward,
hamburger sold here.
I just believe we have an advantage there.
Okay.
So we haven't talked about UFOs yet. I went back through a couple podcasts and why I like them, right? And most of them's open with the UFO conversation. I'm like, wait a minute. Do we have to talk about UFOs?
I
It's a
think
neat
it's,
business. You've been great to deal with
thank you.
ever since I met you. I truly mean that. Anything I can do for you, I truly mean it. My Rolodex is completely open to whatever you need. I think the lack of cooperation in business is shameful.
It's interesting. Like, investment sales has shaped itself into a non-cooperating business, and I'm victim or guilty of it myself. My stance was always, listen, I'm happy to cooperate. If you want a fee, you've got to get it from your buyer. Here's where I think it came from, is especially in multifamily, because if you look at the other disciplines, they don't have the disdain for co-op that multifamily investment sales does.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I think it evolved in multifamily. The larger in the deal size you go, the pitch is, listen, I know all the buyers already. I know who they are. I know who's in the market. I'm the leader in the market. I'm talking to these buyers already. List it with me and I'll get it done in a short order. Occasionally, you'll get a flyer, an agent that calls you and says, hey, I have a buyer. And oftentimes, that buyer's agent, especially the larger in the deal size, just becomes another chain in the literal game of telephone. As buyers have increased in their sophistication, they don't need the buyer's agent. And I think it's because a lot of buyer's agents just aren't really good. Like oftentimes you'll get a call from a residential agent and the first question out of their mouth is, what's the fee? And it's, let's figure out if you have a real buyer first, and then we can talk about the fee. But I'm happy to cooperate. And if you want a fee, you have to get it from your buyer. As the buyers evolved, they said, we have analysts, we have acquisition guys. We don't need this additional layer, and it's really just going to end up costing us more. So let's just cut them out. And so the more that happened, the more it happened, right? It became like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it just,
Yeah.
and then say you are, because I love a good hunting expedition, going out, pulling a list and saying, hey, I've got a buyer specifically for your property. I'm not bullshitting you. Here's who they are. You'll get owners that have, for various reasons, an alliance, a strict alliance with a given market participant, and say, you've got to go through them. They start talking shit. Give me the listing, let me go out, I'll make a market for it, and we'll sell it at a higher price. And then that way we don't have to deal with them. And so it's just, that's why it came about. I remember I was first getting started and I had talked to this group and they're like, yeah, here's our acquisition criteria. So I got another broker's, I was brand new. I was like within 6 months, got another broker's listing and I was like, okay, checks the boxes. And I sent it to him. And he very politely but firmly said, you don't need to send these to me. I'm already getting them. If you want to do deals with us, you have to bring us independently sourced deals. It was a learning experience. At the time, it was bitter, but it gave me the, okay, fine. I'm just going to tune out whatever anybody else is doing. I'm just going to go find deals. And then you want to bring them to the people that have been good to you. And so I think that's how it works.
As you were talking, I was going through things that I've been involved in or things that I've heard. I actually think what you said on the, we know everybody in the market, why do we need that buyer? That is wrong. You never know where it's coming from. As far as MRG goes, we're doing deals right now, big deals with a residential agent, and we're nursing them along. Okay. Is it more painful? Absolutely. Do they have a good relationship with their buyer? Yes. Can we find value that they can lend to the transaction? 100%.
Sure.
For people who think they know everybody in the market, I'm okay with somebody going, and we'll do it too. We'll say, hey, look I can tell you don't do a lot of big multifamily. Is that fair? And I've had people say to me, yeah, I've been a real estate agent for 20 years. I own a couple duplexes, but I'm over my ski tips here. Is there a role I can have in this? The answer is 100% if they say that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you call up somebody, and I've had people where they're on a buyer rep, there's a big national years ago that said, Doug, you don't add any value to the transaction. And I'm like, I have an exclusive buyer rep. They want me in the transaction.
I've had the exact same thing happen.
Yeah, but here's the deal. We can get into the technical aspects because we haven't done that much on real estate, but that is contract interference, the number one area of litigated law in North America. They think there's a lack of understanding. I'm doing a deal book. I've got a chapter that addresses this. I'm an older guy. You got a 26-year-old that made $200,000 selling real estate and they think they invented the market.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And then you call them, maybe they got a nice listing. They go, who are you? And I'm like, we're the group that has 90% of the middle market, which represents 55% of all the apartment volume. I think there's some arrogance there. And we fight that at MRG. We truly fight that tooth and nail. If somebody has the time to make a call and has a good approach, which is 90% of life, we won't tell them we know everybody in the market. It's just not even doable. Could be I had a broker say that to me. I own a fair amount of properties. And I go, oh, you ever heard of this entity? I'm like, you don't know me then. I'm a buyer. You think I'm calling? It's
Yeah.
interesting, frustrating at times, but we're a cooperating brokerage. We'll go fight for commission for that buyer rep. We will do it. And that's when we make calls, we get calls back because they know how we feel about their value in the transaction.
Yeah.
I think it's turning.
I do think what you're building with the cross market teams is how you can add additional value to transactions and be able to source the right buyer for an opportunity. That was one of the things that's why these individual offices get gobbled up by larger firms or one-off offices who are just bolted to a different platform join a larger platform, is to get some of those synergies. And then it really comes to the top to make sure that, okay, who are we bringing on? Are they aligned with our values? Because one bad addition to
Yeah.
the org can really poison it for everybody else and ruin it. And
Yeah, that's a mouthful you just said. It is true. We have a saying at MRG, if you ever been around a campfire, right? And that one person goes to bed and now everybody else goes, okay, now we can finally start having fun because they were just a buzzkill.
yeah,
They show themselves really quick. The technical parts of selling a building are relatively easy. I don't think now, like we dive into appraisal knowledge. We have to. And the appraisal process is difficult to teach, right? Once you get it, most groups will do a deal and cross their fingers, does it appraise? You've got to really understand gross measurements on the building, the net usable measurements. Are they willing to look at different things? The BOVs that come out are all based on comps. You can call any appraiser right there in Cincinnati, Ohio, and say, hey, do you use comps? It's all based on income.
yeah,
And the income to the seller, I can assure you, is different than the buyer, the appraiser, and the bank. So when you dive into some of the technical aspects of selling a building, that's relatively easy to teach. Take some time, right? Being a good teammate, not being that person around the campfire that's a pain in the arse.
this kind of goes into a similar topic that we've talked about before. And the question I hated getting is, what's the cap rate?
Oh,
What's the cap rate? The cap rate might be one thing, but that's because mom and pop operators have been running it for 30 years and they're not maximizing it. Whereas if you look at our business plan through our underwriting of implementing a value add, here's what the returns are. But some buyers just can't, and lenders as well, can't get over that T12 trailing cap rate.
man, the cap rate rabbit hole. Yeah, I'll go there if you want. First of all, water, sewer, gas, trash, electric, lawn, snow, if you're in the north, landscaping, depending on the size of the building. The last three are fungible. The utilities are what they are. G&A, R&M, insurance, and management will be accounted for on an appraisal. They will be. A bank will also throw in some vacancy, plus examine those four on 100% of the deals. So if you talk to me about cap rate, I'll say, what do you think your cap is? And they'll go, oh, it's a 6. I know it's wrong. Okay. So an appraiser is going to go through their expense studies because they have all the data. They've carefully curated the data for that area. They'll combine it with an R&M and G&A. It'll be $1,800 a unit straight off. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
On a smaller building, a 12, 24, 36, you're selling 3 40-unit buildings sitting side by side. Is it 1 cap rate or is it 3? This one's got an old boiler. And so in general, the cap rate, unless you're selling a Taco Bell, I can tell you Taco Bell's a 5 1/4 on a 20-year. It's a new model. It sits next to Wendy's, Home Depot, McDonald's, and Lowe's, and a Target. That's a 5 1/4. right?
Yeah.
But these are apartment buildings. And so when somebody calls up and says, what's the cap rate? I'm like, oh, good Lord.
I want to hang up on them immediately.
Hey, I'm looking for a 10 cap.
Good luck.
I've got one ballistics. What? We got to bring the police with us,
Yeah.
right? Oh, no, I don't want that. Okay, then you don't really want a 10 cap, right? The assignment of expenses in the cap rate approach. And then, of course, there's 3 sets of numbers from a seller. The numbers they first provide you. And then you go, oh, hey, can I have the real numbers? And they give you another set.
Yep.
And then you go, okay, now can I have the final real numbers? The cap rate is different. And
Yeah.
there are national groups that will quote a cap rate on the OM, but they don't stop there. They will, in the OM, quote a pro forma cap rate.
And everything's sold on pro forma.
I'm like, first of all, your cap rate's wrong. You have no idea what the future holds. And this is your pro forma cap rate. It's levered cash flow, cash on cash to some degree, an IRR and a 5, and you can cheat the IRR analysis. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can start at 8 weeks later after the acquisition
Yeah.
and run a 4-year, 10-month IRR, and it's better,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's a combination of cap rate's convenient. It makes you sound like you know what you're talking about. But an apartment building,
Yeah.
it's
I think that the cap rate is the least accurate measure of a deal, but it is the most quoted and discussed measure because
It is.
you've got the expense side, but you also have the income side. Like,
Yeah.
where are your rents in relation to the market? Why are they there? Do you need to do a value add on it? Are there other income opportunities that are there? We've sold buildings that had cell tower leases on them, and you can
Those are
independently
tricky.
monetize those cell towers
Yeah.
separately at a lower cap rate than that
Yeah.
of the building. Do you have any master contracts in place? Do you have a cable contract? Do you have a laundry contract? And so for people that aren't familiar, you can get, if you have a large enough property, you can get it used to be cable, but now it's like internet providers to come and say, hey, we'll do a bulk deal. And sometimes you'll get an upfront payment and then they handle everything. Or sometimes they'll say, we'll sell it to you for $30 a month and you go out and resell it for $70 a month and you make the spread, or we share in the spread and then you lease them to your tenants at $70 a month. We'll split the revenue and we'll take care of all the administration, all the repairs.
You not. I kid you not. It's been the longest week of my career.
Yeah.
I was in a meeting this week in another state. An offer was presented that they should stand up, do a backflip, buy us a steak martini dinner and sign it. And the seller said, what's the cap rate? And I said to him, I'm not going to use names, of course, but I said, you have never once provided me accurate expense information in all the deals we've done together. How can you possibly now talk cap rate?
Yeah.
And it turns out that the offer was right on what I think his expected sales cap rate would be, except
classic.
And that was $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
A little effect on cap. I don't know, the cap rate, somebody should write a book just based on cap rate. Levered cash flow to me, if you're sponsoring a deal or if you have an extended friends and family deal partnership, if they can live with basically the 10-year, which is around 4, 2.25 as a return, if the building can kick off that much cash flow, and by the way, we haven't talked about reserves. If it can kick off that cash flow and you can keep some left, whether it's an asset management fee or you're patient on your waterfall, or you're going to manage up to this point and take all the differences, whatever that is, the levered cash flow forces you to look at debt.
Mm-hmm.
So a buyer is going to say rates are at 6.7 or 6.2 now, right? How strong are you? Are you talking institutional Fannie Freddie? Are you talking about traditional lending or private family lending?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Because they all vary, right? maybe we can get the seller to carry some back at a mezz situation IO for 5 years. It does force you to examine the deal in its entirety, the levered cash flow number. And then from there, if you look at a big brick building, 36 units, as a business, well, why don't we just go and do an EBITDA multiple for the neighborhood, which we could do also. And if we say to a seller, hey, by the way, you're getting a 12.5 or 13 on this, other trades based on curated data that we've obtained from appraisers are selling at a 10 multiple, this is a great offer. If you take the time to explain that to them, they're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of different ways that those appraisers can arm you to be the best you can be. And most brokers get a call from an appraiser and they go, oh, you're the enemy. I don't have time for you, Mr. Appraiser or Mrs. Appraiser.
No,
But
and
document.
it'll make or break a deal. And another thing you can do is just say, here's some comps. You may have your own, but here are some comps that we think are most representative of the deal. You bring them with you, you meet them at the property, you spend 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting. But if everybody in your audience hung up and called an appraiser, that's probably the single most productive thing they can do. And say, hey, Mr. Appraiser, I have a bunch of questions for you. How are you looking at this? If I hand you a group of comps, how do you look at those? A lot of appraisers are going to say, I need some comps by law based on the Appraisal Standards Institute board. I need them. I'm going to look at the income. Okay, here's the income. No, that's not what that's what you think is the income, but I'm going to apply my own expenses to this that I know to be more accurate. And if they just listen to that appraiser talk about how they look at that transaction, they're going to improve tenfold. And we teach some of that at MRG because it's that critical.
Well, a classic that we got all the time was deals in contract. Appraiser has been assigned by the lender.
Interesting, because the appraisal standards require that they're going to go through on the comp basis superior and inferior properties. They're going to subtract or add. They're going to know really quick if that property generally appraises. A lot of them will walk up to the building because they know the data for that neighborhood in their head. And as long as the income justifies that, we're done. They're going to slam their expenses in. They're not going to look at pro forma this or what some big national says the actual cap is. They're going to take their expense data by owner sometimes and say, I know this owner never or always underestimates R&M. Always. I know this owner's there on Saturday and Sunday. He went to Home Depot. He taped, he mudded, and he painted. That's not in the P&L.
No.
So he knows that owner is understated. Okay. Now, another great one is this guy owns 26 buildings and he's working with a big national insurance group and he has better policies. He just does. He's a big client. So that new solo buyer, maybe the new buyer has 2 or 3 buildings, their insurance number is going to be 25, 30% higher of what's quoted. That appraiser is going to focus on those expenses. So it does matter what you give them, but they're going to slam their knowledge on that. And usually can be done pretty quick.
You want to make sure that if you can influence who the appraiser might be, you want to make sure that you know who they are that you're dealing with and that you recommend one that you have successfully worked with previously.
You know what? It was about 18 years ago in my career, and I had a great mentor. He was a very successful guy. And I think I was in front of him, or I said, I got an appraisal call, and he said, spend the time. That's an important call. And again, I'm like, why is this old timer with multi-millions of dollars telling me to take my time? That's an important call. And it was that call I changed my attitude. So in the towns that we work with, I know all the appraisers. So if we get Josh, or if we get this person, the conversation is, hey, We're going to make it organized for you. No, you guys are the greatest. And
That's great.
so, and it's the quickest way to get to know a neighborhood.
And the trick to that is if an appraiser calls you to, even if they're comping something else, you want to do your best to help those people out.
Yeah, it's critical.
Yeah.
We have an appraisal standard as part of our mentorship programs that also has to do with being kind. They're trying to do their jobs. And I get calls, I don't know, 3 to 7 calls a week from appraisers. Doug, I know you're going to talk to me. You look at the CRVs, you're doing a lot of deals in this town. And I'll ask them, what are you selling?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, interesting. And we'll give them that information. And then when that same appraiser comes back and goes, hey, I was chosen for this deal, you're like, great. How's the wife? How's the kids? What are you seeing in the market? But
yeah.
it's the way it is.
And if you can get them to buy into what the proposed value add strategy is, the more you can get them to be like, okay, I know that they're going to be able to do this.
Appraisals and cap rates are something I stew over.
Is this in your book? Okay.
An approach to it is. I think it's covered in chapter 2 or 3.
So tell me about your book. You were raving about it last time we spoke, but you wouldn't tell me about it.
No, I'm actually writing 2 books.
Okay.
The deal book is pretty much done. I've been sitting on it for a few months. I've got to get it going. It's done. And the other book is a life book about chronic illness, which I have. And that one's not done. That's been a especially tough book because it's a medical memoir. The deal book's done. It's thought-provoking. The deal book's thought-provoking. I think it addresses a 15, 20-year problem that I've heard over and over again. 90% of the people that hold the book in their hand will finish the book, maybe more.
Okay.
And that's the book that's coming out. It's the foundation to the deal world. It's an area that is not addressed by coaches or a sales seminar. It's not even close to being addressed. This, in my experience, over 35 years.
Okay. I'm excited to read it.
I can't believe I'm talking about this. It's like pricing software. Populate the world with your software and then hit everybody with a price. Once the value's there, they can't live without it. The old Bill Gates model, I don't know what you think of Bill Gates, but that's what he did. And he was on to something. A lot of people come out and say, my software is $1,000 a month. And you're like, what? Instead, I'm going to call you in 8 weeks and then you're going to tell me a fair price. And if the price you offer me isn't fair enough, I'm going to cancel your subscription. That's base study, the operating system in IBM.
Right.
Are you old enough to remember DOS?
Yeah, I remember
it was called disk operating system. It was on every, and nobody knew what it was or that it was even important until Bill Gates came along and said, hey, now I'm charging you. And they had no choice. Bill Gates might tell a different version of that.
Yeah.
The book is going to be given.
Are you going to do it on audio?
That's funny. When you read the book, the answer is no.
Okay.
And so just so I don't lose anybody in the audience, I guess the direct answer is no. Is that a buzzkill for you?
I listen to a lot of books and podcasts. That's how I consume most of my reading.
I still think there's value in pulling. There's a really great statement I heard years ago, and I truly believe it. You're going to be the same person you are in 5 years, except for the people you meet and the books you read. If you really look back on that, it's super, super true. And so I think reading, even to a deal person, read anything. Read about the Civil War. Read a topic that you find interesting, an autobiography of someone you think is very successful, however you determine that, but just read. And so the book that I'm writing,
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to send you the first one that's in my hands. And then I think you're going to laugh your behind off.
All right.
And you're going to say, you
Let's do it.
Fun. We should do that.
Yeah. I was going to, on the topic of reading, one of the best biographies I've read, listened to on Audible was Harry Truman's. It was fascinating because he came up as a seed farm boy from Kentucky and then to Missouri. And then his story through he owned a men's clothing shop that
Yep.
failed. Ended up getting into politics. I forget exactly how, but that was when the political parties, especially the Democratic Party, was controlled by party bosses. And so he had to align himself with the party boss and then somehow got named to the ticket for FDR after having an unnoteworthy career. And then all of a sudden, FDR is reelected. He's the vice president. FDR dies, and he's got his hand on the button that he didn't even know was a button until he
Yeah.
got there. It just is.
Yeah.
So,
I've read a couple Harry Truman books, and yeah, this story is crazy.
remarkable.
I've got a client right now that we trade reading material.
And those are
He's a
great
voracious
relationships to have and develop and to foster outside of business because then they lead back to building business together. I was sending out books to people. I sent out Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And it's a great read. I sent that out to people.
Yeah,
And
I give books away. There's a dozen books that I've read in my life that have made a huge difference that I think most people should read, but I should actually send more books out. We should start trading books, man.
let's do it.
I'm going to send you the Miller Hyman series published in 1989.
What is that?
It's a crazy book. Essentially, it's an account management group of books, right?
Okay.
Need, urgency, money, desire, trust. So when you're doing a deal, any deal, if you just go through need, urgency, money, desire, trust, you can flush out that deal. Well, they want to do it, but they don't trust me to do it. Or they trust me to do it, but they really don't have the urgency or the desire. Okay, that's neat. They trust you, but they're not sellers yet.
Right.
So the Miller Hyman series, I've given those books out a lot. I believe in them. I think what's his name? Bosworth or Boscard or something like that in the early 2000s when he came out with spin selling
Yeah.
or complex sales,
Yeah.
right? And his whole thing was on any deal, it's usually not one decision maker. There's the technical buyer, there's the money buyer, person writing
Sure.
the check. You know this.
Yeah.
There's the money buyer, there's the user buyer, right?
Yep.
So I think when we were talking about your software, which I'm glad we got, by the way, everybody should take a look.
Yeah. I talked to Mary Pat,
Oh,
showed it to
yeah,
her.
Jake or somebody,
Yeah.
but they were my influencer.
Yeah.
Everybody has an influencer. He's going to go home and talk to his wife.
His wife
Hey,
or his
honey,
partners.
should we
Yeah.
sell 12 West? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Credited a lot of his techniques and ideas to Miller Hyman. And then now you've got really
It was Neil Rackham who
what's
did
that?
spin selling is Neil Rackham.
Neil Rackin. Well,
Yeah.
he's one. There's another one in there. He was a big one too. There's a Boscard, I think.
Bosman.
Boscard.
I don't
Well,
know.
anyway, what's happened since 2016, 17, and 18 is now everybody's a sales trainer. And
Everybody's a
a
sales trainer.
but you can trace some of these things back to the original need, urgency,
Yeah.
money, desire, trust. And is trust transferable? And if so, how do you do it? These kind of things that have really more to do with human psychology than they have to do with, am I selling a pair of jeans or a building? Right. And so the foundation of that stuff is really neat to talk about to me. And that's what my book's about too. You
The
convert a
technical
steam boiler
aspects
to
of it.
let's start trading some books.
Okay.
I need your address. I'm going to ship you a couple books.
Okay. Cool.
They're easy reads.
I'm down.
I have one client who's a voracious reader and he gets super bright guy. He's as good as you get.
No.
It's 48,000 pages long on a detailed history of a country.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's a good book. He goes, just start it. And I'm like, no, I'm more along the lines of if I can't read it in 5 or 6 sessions.
I've got a bunch of, what do I have in my queue right now? I'm listening to The Case for Christ right now. I've got Death by Astonishment, The Storm Before the Calm.
Okay.
Forget Alchemy is a good one. UFOs for the 21st Century Mind. That's a good one.
Did you just say UFO?
Yeah. It'll be in the title now.
Oh, I love it.
Let's see. In the Heart of the Sea. That's a really good one.
Okay.
That was about Moby Dick is not a true story, but it's Moby Dick is inspired by these guys' real life tale.
Okay.
Nantucket, which is now a haven for the ultra wealthy,
Wealthy.
it started as a whale hunting colony. Actually, it
Okay.
started as just like a colonist, and then at some point they figured out, oh, there's whales out there. Oh, and there's oil. And
There's
then,
blubber.
yeah, it was actually, it's the blubber, but it's actually, there's oil in the head. And so sperm whales are called sperm whales because the oil in their head it burns the best, but when it comes in contact with oxygen, it turns milky white. That's why it's called that. And these guys, this was like an old ship that they had taken out. It was maybe like one of its last voyages, but it had been in service for 20 years. Their hunting grounds had to expand. And so these guys ended up in the middle of the Pacific and they found this one whale and they pissed him off. And this whale took vengeance upon them and basically broke up their ship. And they floated for, I think it was like 60 or 90 days
Oh,
until
geez.
they got to an island and they were picked up by a Navy vessel. And cannibalism, like, it wasn't voluntary. They didn't want to do it, but it's just the way it happened.
Anytime you throw cannibalism into a book, it's a gripping tale.
Yeah, it just, oh my gosh, that's a really good one.
Yeah, send me that. I went on a 10-year run of reading survival books. And then I stood up one day and I'm like, why am I so depressed? I haven't read one since.
Yeah, I like these history books.
It's funny, right about an hour and a half north of you, the French, early 1800s, came to Ohio and they built castles.
Really?
An hour and a half north of you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Logan County, Ohio.
I'm doing it right now. Yeah.
Piet Castle's Makochi.
Wow.
They've got some of the neatest Civil War memorabilia in these castles. Did it come up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is cool.
It's an incredible little day trip. It'll change the way you view that part of Ohio. There's a moat around one castle on the Tecumseh Theater.
Yeah. Chillicothe is a fascinating place.
Oh, it's crazy.
Side note, tying it back into multifamily investment real estate, I was talking to a large owner based out of Colorado.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're going from Shawnee Indians to multifamily.
So Chillicothe is interesting because it has a bunch of mounds. They have Mound City there, and you'll just be in a neighborhood and there's a mound right there. And you're like, what is happening? A group out of Colorado bought a property there, large property, and they have some of the largest uranium deposits in the United States in Chillicothe. And his theory is that when they get their act together, Chillicothe is going to benefit from that.
Wow. Do they know where uranium comes from?
I didn't get that far. No.
Hang with me, baby. Come on. That's a classic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I know.
Yeah.
We've got several people from Ohio State on board that are just killing it.
That's great.
And so it's Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm not a native Ohioan, but I've come to love this part of the country, and I think it's just fascinating. I have an archaeologist from the Ohio History Connection coming on next week, so I'm excited to talk to him.
Oh, that'll be fun. In
Yeah.
1976, 5 and 6, the greatest baseball team in the history of the planet Earth was right there in Cincinnati, Ohio. I bumped into Pete Rose, and then we saw him at a light with his baseball uniform on, leaving the stadium. I was like 10 years old, hanging out the back. He was in his Reds uniform.
That's so cool.
I wish the Reds could get their act together.
Same with the Bengals.
Yeah. No, it's been great to talk to you about that stuff. It's been enjoyable just because these podcasts are interesting because we cover some real estate for sure. We could go on for real estate forever, but
Yeah.
I think it's important to get along. And you're that kind of guy, those
Thank
kind
you.
of positive vibes. And
Thank you. I think
so
hosting the podcast has given me a further depth of myself and personality that I had maybe neglected or not put any attention to. When you're in brokerage, it's just let's figure out a way to get a deal done as quickly as possible. And so you become like a mercenary,
yeah,
or at least I did. This gives me the opportunity to have long form conversations with people and just because I'm genuinely curious. That's why I started it. I just want to know, what's your story? Like, how did you get here? And what are some of the learnings that you've had that might be able to rub off on me?
it's funny because I think the podcast world's interesting, just like the brokerage world. It's not a zero-sum game.
No,
It's
not.
not. Like you can get interesting people on.
Yeah,
There's just always
exactly.
more. And you don't have to compete to the death for
Yeah,
anything.
this has been a lot of fun. I feel like this is a good break point. Do you?
Yep.
Awesome.
No, you,
Yeah, we got
but
it.
hopefully the audience found it interesting. If you went into my Rolodex anytime,
Yeah.
let me know. I want to help you out in any way I can. I just don't want to list your property, but we are sending a listing agreement over.
All right, cool. 6%.
6%.
If somebody's interested in maybe joining MRG or listing a property with you guys, what's the best way to get in touch?
Oh boy, I wasn't prepared for that. Calling the agents, send an email, send a smoke signal,
Yeah,
blow it. We've got just a massive amount of listings.
that's good.
It's a focus. It's part of what we do. If somebody wants to talk, they can email me, Doug at mrgrealtypartners.com is probably the best way to reach me and get connected.
That's great.
What do you got planned? Anything?
I'm going to go to Piat Castles.
A guy to jump in your car and drive an hour and a half?
Yeah, why not?
You should do it.
Yeah.
And in a little farm community dominated by Mennonites. And
Love that. I think we'll do it.
yeah.
We've got this expedition and we put stickers on the back of it every time we go to a place.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
Appreciate all your time, and hopefully everybody got something out of this.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Stash.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it for the Stash Cast. Subscribe, share, and stay ahead in commercial real estate and prop tech. See you next time.